Welcome back to Sawyer Farm. I'm Jacob. Today we are going to be making some homemade onion powder. If you've seen our previous videos, we had a lot of onions this year, and that's one of the reasons why we planted so much, because we wanted to make our own onion powder. We use a decent amount of it in our cooking and stuff, so we wanted to try it for our first time. Now, we had made one batch before this, so we kind of somewhat got an idea of how to do it. But so the first thing we're going to be doing is just cutting up the onion. Just cut the ends off. Oh, a little too much. Then cut it in half, and then I just peel this outer layer just to get any nastiness or anything that was around. And then this goes into our compost pile because we cut all the ends off. You can see right here, we just stuck them in the container, and then anything that we're not going to be using goes in our compost. Alright, and so now since you got it right here, making this is actually a lot easier than what we thought when we started doing research on it. But once you kind of get it cut like this, then you just cut it probably maybe 1/8 of an inch, just real fine. The kind of the thinner you do it, the less amount of time, or the easier that it's going to actually dehydrate. And so you just kind of keep cutting it. Make sure not to cut yourself. That would not be a good thing. And you know, if you're not getting as consistent, it's not a big deal. Just try to get as thin as you can and somewhat of the same consistency, so then everything dehydrates somewhat around the same time. Alright, so that's kind of how you're going to be cutting them up. Now we got probably maybe 20. They're kind of smaller onions. I kind of picked the smaller ones just to kind of get those out of the way. We're going to cut those up, stick them in the bowl, and then I'll tell you what else we're going to be doing. All right, so we got them all cut up. Now, what you're gonna have a lot of, this. The pieces are gonna look like this, and so what I like to do is with this bowl right here is just I just start kind of, peeling them around. If you find any pieces that probably shouldn't be in there, just kind of go through and start breaking them up so they're not all clumped up whenever they are in the dehydrator, and that makes it where they'll kind of dehydrate a lot better than if they were all kind of stuck together. So we're gonna just continue to do this, and then we're gonna put them on the dehydrator, and I'll tell you a little special thing that you got to do for the dehydrator. Alright, so I think I got most of them kind of broken up. Whenever you start putting them on there, if you see them, just break them up while they're there, but I think I got most of them. Now, on the dehydrator, the thing that you're going to want to do from the videos we were watching and seeing people do this is you want to not necessarily put it directly on your tray. We're using 2 dehydrators. This one, we are doing this cover. The other one we're not, because we're going to just dedicate that for onions and garlic. But the reason you want to cover this is just parchment paper, and they actually make special reusable ones that you can use for these instead of just parchment paper. But if you have this, you can use it. The reason why you want to do this is because if you know anything about onions, it's real potent, and it can kind of get into, I guess, the plastic, and if you're trying to say make jerky or something later, you could have more of an oniony seasoning into it. And so putting this parchment paper down, it doesn't kind of soak in, and you can discard it and you don't have to worry about that. So just kind of depends on what you want to do. Like I said, the other one, we're not doing that. We're just dedicating that one to onions and garlic. So that's kind of the only kind of special thing you really got to do with the dehydrator is just put this parchment paper on. We cut a little hole and made it to what we need. Now we're just going to start sticking them on here. Now you try to get as, see, like right there, just start kind of breaking it up. Now you don't want to like pack this completely full. You kind of want to spread it out, but guys, the cool thing about this is you don't have to be perfect. Just stick it on there and just move it around a little bit. Try not to get them real bunched up, but you don't have to sit here for 2 hours just on one tray trying to get them perfect. Just try to get them somewhat spread out, and yeah, it's not going to be a real issue. Probably just put a little bit more on here because I want to get a decent amount on here because we got a lot of onions to do, and this kind of takes a while, and I'll talk a little bit more about that with time and everything. But so yeah, that's probably about good. I probably won't want to pack it any more than this. It's getting right to a point where it's getting probably a little too much. That's kind of what you're kind of looking for. Just spread it out. Nothing crazy. We're going to do the rest of this one and the other dehydrator, and then we will go out and tell you about times and everything. Alright, so actually another special thing that you need to do once you get your dehydrators filled and everything, you're going to want to do this either outside, have a room that's maybe far away. I wouldn't do it where you're normally going to be at because, just like I said, onions, you all know, very potent. This will get very, very smelly of onions, and if you're real sensitive to that, do it outside. Patio, just somewhere away from where you're going to be, because it's going to be a little bit. Now with the timing, from what I was always watching and reading, they were saying like 6 to 9 hours on the dehydrator. I don't know if it's our dehydrator or what it is, but we didn't have that type of success, I guess you could say, with 9 hours. It didn't seem like they were hard enough to where you're going to make them into powder. So we mainly got, it was mainly like probably around 24 hours is what ours was. I know that's a lot. We mainly plugged it in, let it go overnight, and we just kind of, I guess, forgot about it. And it became, they became crispy at that point. I was checking them, moving the trays, because the bottom one's always going to be kind of done first than the top. So you just have to look at it, depending on your dehydrator and what, just whenever they start getting crispy, and I'll show you what that looks like. And that's kind of your time frame. Look at it between that and just watch it. When they're crispy, they're done. So it just all kind of depends. Don't just get discouraged if you're at like 9 hours and they don't even look even close to being done, because that's how it was for us. So that's kind of your time frame, I guess, 9 to 24 hours, whatever works for you. But let's go inside, and we already have some already pre-made, so you don't have to wait 24 hours for the next scene. We're going to do it right now for you. Alright, so the next step, here is what the onions kind of will look like, at least for us they did. And you can tell they're real kind of crispy, like chips. Look at that. I can't exactly remember how many onions this was. It's roughly about what we had, what we just did, because we filled up that bowl, and that usually does the two dehydrator. So I'd say roughly around, like I said, 20 smaller onions is what kind of this right here made. So right now, since they're kind of stringy, I kind of like just to kind of break them up just a little bit so then I can stick them in this little grinder. Now, what this is, just a little KitchenAid coffee grinder. We got this, it was actually on sale at Walmart, I think for like 20 bucks. So it was actually a pretty good deal, we thought. We did try this the first time we did it. We didn't have this, and we did it just in like a blender, and that works good. If that's all you have and you don't want to get one of these, or if you don't have one, the only thing I'll say with that is what we saw with the blender. It makes it like a half powder, half flake. So we wanted actual powder, not just flakes. So you kind of just have to weigh your options on that, but just know doing the blender, you're going to get a little bit of flakes, not as much of a powder, but you still get it kind of a both. So just FYI. So now, just going to stick this in here. Going to just fill this up, and then we are going to start crushing it up into some onion powder. Look at that smoky dust. That looks like it needs to go a little bit more. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. That's kind of how you make onion powder. This is kind of what it turned out to be. I mean, it's straight up powder. And we got almost a pint jar's worth, which I think was pretty good. It didn't take a whole lot of onions. Like we said, this is a couple batches we've done. And you just got to look at... The thing I like about this is it's not, you know, you're not buying it in the store. You're not having those additives in there, all that stuff that's probably bad for you. This is straight, just onions. There's nothing else but onions in it. Now, I will say this. We haven't cooked with it, but from what I was researching, this is a lot more, and I can tell just by smelling it, a lot more potent onion powder than what you're going to buy in the store. So whenever you're doing your recipes and stuff, you probably don't want to use as much as whatever it is, because it's very potent onion powder when you're making it, because it is just straight onions. I mean, there's nothing else in this, but I mean, it's real easy. And whenever you're growing your onions next year, you have them right now, just plant an extra, however many you think you're going to need for the year. Now, I did look up on the shelf life of what this is, and since it doesn't have any of the additives and stuff in it, your store-bought onions, onion powder, usually they say will last like 3 to 4 years before it starts losing its potency. This, I think they said around a year. You keep it in an airtight container because it doesn't have all those, you know, preservatives and everything in there. So just make enough to where you think you're going to need for a year's time, and just kind of do that every year, and you're going to have your fresh onion powder. Now, you also can use an oven if you don't have a dehydrator. We've never done that, but just do some research on that. If you want to use your oven as a dehydrator, you can still kind of do it that way also. I forgot to mention that in the dehydrating part. But we're very excited to start getting this onion powder. Guys, if you really enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Got any questions or anything, or you got some really good just suggestions or comments? We really like reading the comments. We try to reply as much as we can, but there is sometimes a lot of them, but we at least try to heart them just so we know we did read them. But we really do appreciate y'all supporting our channel. Hit the bell for notifications. That will notify you of new videos that we put out. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. That really helps us out in doing this whole YouTube journey. But we really appreciate y'all stopping by. Take care and God bless.